The worst thing you can do on a good day is beef with a pro like Hutch. Unfortunately, the bullies in Plumberville didn't know this when they humiliated the professional assassin's family without a care in the world and tried to force the poor man into submission. Forced out of retirement, this man goes on a beating spree to restore his family's dignity. What began as just pure fun for Plumberville's PD soon grows into a dangerous game of masculine egos and reliving the good old days. To find out how this unit of a man beat the freak out of these bullies, stick with us and enjoy the recap. Back again in the interrogation room, Hutch Mansell has various deep cuts and bruises all over his body. Just then, he ignites his lighter and uses it to burn one of his injuries to seal it shut, as the confused police officers stare at him and ask him who he is. Weeks before the incident, Hutch wakes up very early in the morning, performs his duties, and heads straight to work, where he takes out his targets. By nighttime, he messages Becca and most often comes home very late for dinner. As the night slowly passes, it's revealed that Hutch is barely present in his children's lives, and this goes on for so long that it strains his marriage. At one point, Becca almost brings up the serious talk, but eventually, she lets it slide. One Friday morning, he comes out of the basement and tells Becca that he slept there because he didn't want to wake her the night before. Over breakfast, he tries to catch up on Brady by asking if he made it to the team, but Becca chooses not to answer for him and instead tells Hutch to ask him. Moments later, she hurries to work, and their kids hurry off to their school, and in that moment, Hutch nearly misses taking out the trash. When he gets outside the house, Becca then reminds him that it's almost summer break, but he tells her he'll plan a vacation for them. She smiles at him at first, but her mood changes when he tells her he has one more job to take care of. Soon enough, she drives off a bit, reverses to pour out her mind, and ultimately decides to keep it in as she returns to work. Later, at his place of assignment, Hutch watches his time as he sees his targets heading straight to the elevator, so he follows them and places an "Out of service" sign outside the elevator to prevent disturbance. Once he gets in, the elevator door shuts. Later that day, he goes to the barber, who welcomes him and theorizes that he had a long day. Hutch says he wasn't given enough info compared to what he had faced, hands the barber the data card, and then sits with him to discuss how it went down. The barber believes the data card was a straightforward snatch, but Hutch tells him that was how it was supposed to be. Apparently, back when he entered the elevator, he tried having small talks with the men, but then the one with the gun talked back at him rudely, and Hutch immediately pulled out his gun to threaten the man with the data card. Unfortunately, the very second he pulled his gun out, the men jumped him, so he had to fight back and get the data card. After exiting the elevator, the Corsicans immediately ambushed him with an MP7, threatening to end him. To save himself, Hutch ducked and threw an explosive, which took them out. Right after, a group of Brazilians showed up with a machete, so he also took them on with his belt and silenced them. After hearing the ordeal, the barber admits that he went through a lot. Soon after decoding the data card, he checks the content and tells Hutch that it was worth the effort, and he is now $800,000 closer to his goal. Curious, Hutch asks the barber how much he owes him, and the man tells him it's roughly around $30 million. That being said, the barber hands Hutch another task, and Hutch nearly picks it up on instinct, only to decline just seconds later. Shocked, the barber reminds him that he needs to pay his huge amount of debt, which he caused by burning the object, and judging by the rate at which he's doing his mission, he'll have paid up his debts the next spring. Hutch insists on taking a break, and the barber wishes him good luck. Confused, Hutch asks him why he's letting him off easily, but then the barber tells him the job is in his nature, and nature always wins wherever he goes. Before leaving, Hutch remembers seeing a Plumberville sticker on the Brazilian's car earlier that day, so he makes up his mind and shows his family an old advert. After showing them the advert, the family gets a bit skeptical about things, but he assures them that he has booked reservations and his dad will be coming. Seeing as it's the full house, Brady opts to sit this one out, but Becca refuses. Just then, Hutch notices his black eye and learns Brady got it from a foul incident in the game he missed. Around that time, Becca recalls Hutch telling her he went to Plumberville when he was little, and he affirms, saying it was the only vacation his dad took him when he was a kid. Eventually, after persuading his family for several more minutes, they all finally agreed to go on the vacation. Days later they pack up, pick Dave from his nursing home, and Hutch warns his old man not to smoke. Dave reluctantly listens and hops on the vehicle, and Hutch drives them to Plumberville. When they get there, they go to their reserved room, and Hutch kisses his wife as she expresses how happy she is to finally spend time together as a family. Suddenly, Sammy barges in on them and tells them it's water park time. Moments later, they head to the water park, but soon learn it's closed for the next 24 hours. So Dave goes to his old lodge while Hutch takes his family to have hot dogs at the nearest restaurant. There, he spends the next few moments recalling the time his dad brought him and Harry, his assassin buddy, to the restaurant back when they were younger. Meanwhile, a sheriff who stays at the right spot he stares at gets a wrong signal, so he confronts Hutch and asks him if something is the matter. Hutch quickly apologizes and grabs his family their snacks, so they can eat to their fill. After their meal, they head to a game house to have some fun, totally oblivious to what's coming next. Later on, while Brady shoots some balls through a hoop, Hutch tries to catch up with him and learns that Brady didn't make the team. Shocked by this, he tries prodding further, but Becca calls him, so he goes to meet her. Right after he leaves, some girls eagerly watch Brady, so he hands them a row of tickets. Confused, Sammy asks him why he would do that, but he tells her he has more than enough, and they both leave to try out other game stores. Hutch then tries to enjoy his good time with Becca, but then he sees Brady fighting another boy, and he rushes down to stop them. Just then, it's revealed that a minute before the incident happened, a guy showed up and asked Brady to apologize for hitting on his girl. Brady got confused, but he stood his ground and refused to apologize. Suddenly, the boy grabs Sammy's stuffed badger, rips it in half, and eventually gets into a fight with Brady. Moments later, the shopkeeper separates the fight and tells them he saw Brady attack first. Hutch tries to talk things through, but Becca immediately yells at him to leave with them, and he agrees. As they leave, he sees the store owner smack Sammy while telling her to leave her ruined toy. Hutch looks at him quietly before leaving the place, but as soon as he steps out, he tells them he left his phone inside, so he goes back in, ignoring Becca's disapproval. As soon as he walks back to the arcade's entrance, he kicks it open before attacking the staff members. Soon after, Hutch whops them and smacks the man who hit his daughter, but unfortunately for him, before he finishes them off, Becca sees him, and she's bewildered. Shortly after, they are taken to the town's sheriff, and Brady and Hutch are charged with violence. During that time, Hutch advises Brady not to act on his emotions again, and Brady looks at him in disbelief, given that he's the reason they are in such a mess. Suddenly, the sheriff, whom he got on the wrong foot with earlier, shows up and takes Hutch to Wyatt Martin, the town's mayor. When he gets his private meeting with Hutch, Wyatt gets mad at him for Brady attacking his son and tells him how his dad made a free pass for tourists. To avoid any further trouble, Hutch tells him he'll make sure Brady apologizes, but then explains that one of the staff members hit his daughter, which was why he lost control. To prove that he's telling the truth, Hutch asks Wyatt to check the security cam footage and asks him what he'd have done in his shoes. Having heard enough, Wyatt releases him, and on his way out, Abel tells Hutch to leave the town. Not long after Hutch leaves, Abel secretly orders Dan and his men to get rid of the Mansells, and Dan agrees to go on the mission. When the family returns to their suite, Becca gets mad at Hutch for messing up on the first day, and she tells him how his behavior is influencing Brady badly. Following this, she then asks him about what's in his bag and hopes it's not one of his work-related items that are stored there. To confirm her suspicions, she checks it and sees it's their favorite wine, so she apologizes and hugs him. They then pour themselves a glass and reminisce about how Hutch was the first time she met him. The next day, Becca gets perfect scores in a sniping event, and Brady praises her skill. While the family has fun, Hutch sees an officer tailing them and taking their photos, and senses some foul play. Once it's time to ride the duck boat, Hutch allows his family to go with the first one, so he can pick the next one, and possibly figure out what all the fuss is about. By the time he gets on the next one, Abel's men follow him and get on the boat. With no time to waste, Hutch then cuts to the chase as soon as the boat starts moving, lets them know that he doesn't want to leave yet, and reveals that he still wants to make memories with his family. However, when they refuse to listen and attack him, Hutch returns the favor and ends up breaking off one of the dumbass teeth, and even goes as far as hurling another one into the water. Hutch then tries to defend himself against the knife, but he loses his pinky finger in the process. Just as he's about to go to recover the finger, which apparently fell into the water, a fish devours it. Disappointed, Hutch faces his victims and tries fighting back, but they punch him into the water. Following this, the men argue with Dan about how Hutch isn't a normal tourist. To prove their point, Hutch emerges from the water and solos the entire crew, beating them to a pulp. Shortly afterward, he calls Harry and tells him he's in Plumberville with his family. Harry then opens up about how, back then, when their dad took them there for a vacation, he was on a mission investigating something. After telling him that the place is being used to launder money during vacation by powerful people, Harry then advises Hutch to be careful. Meanwhile, in one of the town's buildings, Wyatt receives a large shipment of substances, and he instructs Abel to watch over it to ensure no one is in trouble. In the meantime, while Hutch's family wonders where he is, they continue their fun without him and come across a caged wolf dog. Coincidentally, Abel receives a call from Dan and learns that Hutch took down all the men they had sent his way. Hutch, on the other hand, calls the barber, asking for the kind of business that goes on in Plumberville, and soon learns that the person in control of that town goes by the name Lenina. She is a merciless woman who entered her casino and killed a man who claimed he was on a winning streak, checked his ear, confirming that it was cheating, and then ordered her men to ensure no witness survives. Hutch then asks the barber for an address, and he gives him a lead before telling him he won't get any help. During that time, Wyatt plays catch with his son, Max, to help him exercise his wounded arm. Suddenly, he gets a call from Landina, and he tells her how the last shipment will clear all the loans his father owed her. To his surprise, Landina laughs at him and tells him he can't pay it back. Hearing this, she compares him to his dad and hangs up on him. Following that call, Landina calls Abel and orders him to take something precious that belongs to Wyatt so he'll remember who he's working for. Back at their suite, the Mansells note that their dad is running late, and the kids wonder if he's in some kind of trouble. Not long after, they hear a knock at their door, and they see their grandpa, who shows up with hamburgers and tells them to move to his cabin because Hutch will be coming late. As soon as she hears Dave say this, Becca immediately instructs the kids to pack up. Soon after, the man of the hour drives off to the venue that the barber gave him and practices how to negotiate. He then stealthily makes an entrance, pours gasoline on the huge bundle of cash, which belongs to Landina, and prepares to burn it. Just then, Abel asks him what he wants, and Hutch says he wants a break, where he leaves him and his family alone as soon as he walks past that door. Hearing this, Abel tries to act tough at first and reminds him how he's caused him nothing but trouble ever since he showed up. However, after realizing who has the upper hand, he quickly changes his mind and lets Hutch go. As Hutch leaves, he's surprised to see Max tied up and asking for his help, but he leaves nevertheless. At the last minute, he has a change of heart, so he storms back into the building and takes down the men. The one-sided, bloody, and gruesome battle ends very quickly, and he rescues Max from his opponents. Abel sees him and tries to shoot him, but Hutch shoots at the bulb, and the sparks fall on the huge pile of cash. It catches fire as Hutch walks out with Max. Abel sees the fire spreading towards the explosives, so he quickly heads for the door. A few seconds later, the explosion wrecks the entire building, destroying the cash along with it. Not long after, the news travels very fast, and Landina learns about Hutch and how he's the mastermind behind her loss. She looks through his photos and contacts Abel, who somehow managed to survive the explosion. Abel asks her to bring her men, but she tells him she'll show up instead. Later that day, Hutch arrives at the cabin, and once he checks that everyone is alright, Brady goes to meet Max, and they shake hands like proper adults. Hutch then explains to Dave that he still has a job to do, and Dave signals to him to see Becca. Hutch goes to her, but she tells him he was supposed to keep danger at arm's length. She then reminds him that he broke his promise, but then he tells her he doesn't have any control over the situation, and she should leave him. He tells her he isn't asking, but she refuses and reminds him that he's a father and her man, so he should fix the problem he's gotten himself into. Hutch then heads to Wyatt's place to tell him he is with Max, but Wyatt takes it the wrong way and attacks him, thinking he was the one who kidnapped his son. Left with no choice, Hutch defends himself, and after a little spar, the men discuss properly over a drink. Wyatt tries his best to process that all of Landina's money is gone, but Hutch tells him he saved Max. He then calls her a psycho who killed his dad and ordered Abel to kidnap his son. Curious, Hutch asks Wyatt what she'll do regarding her money that he burnt, and Wyatt informs him that Landina is definitely on her way. Before long, he takes Hutch to where his dad had stashed his weapons while preparing to fight Landina. Getting there, Hutch tests out one of the guns, and he sees that the weapon is intact. The next morning, Wyatt closes the theme park to get the innocent bystanders out of the way. Meanwhile, as Hutch then examines the place with him, he sees Harry and introduces him to Wyatt. He then asks Harry why he's around, and Harry reveals he can sense Hutch is in danger. Together with Dave's help, they set up traps all over the theme park. Hutch sees the wolf dog and frees it. After laying their traps, the Mansells give each other a group hug, and Dave tells his sons they are his improvements, as Harry also tells Hutch that he has a different plan in mind. Some hours later, Dave sees Landina's car approaching from far away, and he signals to the rest of the men. Meanwhile, Landina gets aerial footage of the place, and she sees the cabin in the midst of the woods, so she instructs her men to take down anyone and leave no room for prisoners. As the hour darkens, Becca's anxiety grows worse. But when she spots a sniper on the shelf, she heads straight for it. By nighttime, Landina arrives in Plumberville, and she sends Abel to talk to Hutch and Harry into surrendering. Abel approaches them and calls himself the new lord of the town. Thereafter, he asks them to hand their guns over, saying they might be spared, but they choose the second option. Hearing this, he laughs at them like they've gone crazy and signals to Landina that they have refused. To his surprise, she orders them to take him out, and almost immediately, they shoot Abel down, and Hutch and Wyatt dash deeper into the theme park. The soldiers follow them, and the men activate the booby traps, taking the men out and drastically reducing their numbers. At a point, the dog helps Hutch detect an armed man lurking behind him. While luring the gunman, Wyatt gets shot in the cheek, but he still gets rid of the few after him. Hutch, on the other hand, uses every means necessary to get rid of Landina's men. He lures them out to the open, and Dave sprays them with his submachine gun. Unfortunately, he gets shot in the arm. While Hutch and Wyatt fight the forces at the park, another squad heads towards the cabin. Harry jumps them and takes down all the weaklings before preparing to take on Landina's assistant. They clash, and the man brags about chopping off his previous opponent's head, so Harry takes the battle seriously. He uses his katana to easily cut through the man's blade and slices his head off like a sashimi. He then goes inside to check on his nephew and niece, and sees that Brady has successfully taken down a gunman. Back at the park, Hutch struggles to help Wyatt, so he looks for help. All of a sudden, he hears a whistle and sees Landina casually chilling. She then asks him who sent him, and he replies, nobody. Hutch then asks her why she's here, and she tells him she came for him. Her assistants spring out of the blue, and they jump him. He tries to fight back, but they take him down and hit him multiple times before holding him for Landina to chip at his body with her knife. She tells him he messed with the wrong hoe. She then orders her girls to take him out. One of them points her gun, but suddenly drops to the ground after the sound of a gunshot is fired. The second looks in the direction and sees Wyatt, so she charges at him angrily, but he shoots her multiple times to end her. Just when he breathes a sigh of relief, Landina throws a knife straight into his chest. She then pins Hutch to the ground and tries to slit his throat, but a tranquilizer hits her in the shoulder. Confused, she asks who the new person is, and the figure introduces herself as Hutch's better half. As Landina struggles to stay conscious, she throws her knife at Becca, but Becca intercepts it with another tranquilizer, which hits Landina in the eye. Becca rushes to Hutch, and they see a lot of gunmen coming at them. Wyatt dives into the pool, and Dave triggers a massive explosion, which blows up everything around him. Becca quickly jumps into the pool with Hutch, and they survive the effect. Sammy wonders if her parents and Dave are alright, and Harry tells her it's another Mansell's vacation. Deep in the water, Becca swims to Hutch and gives him air. Fast forward to the investigation room, the investigators ask them who they are, and Becca says they are married. They receive a call from the higher-ups, just like last time, demanding their release, and the cops are left with no choice but to release them. As they walk out to the open, Becca tells Hutch that they need another vacation. When they get home, they celebrate a successful vacation and go through the photos with their kids. Hutch Mansell thought he was done with that life, but somehow, trouble always finds its way back to him. This time, it's not just about staying alive, it's about protecting the people he loves. But come on, this is Hutch we're talking about. Do you really think it's over? Or is this just the quiet before another storm? Let me know down in the comments. Until next time, guys, stay safe, and peace out.